Hour number 3 kicks off with our friend from Pro Football Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, the author himself as well. The Big Shield is a book that you can get where all books are sold, certainly in time for it to be a stocking stuffer. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Florio. Good to see you, Mike. How are you?
Hey. I think it would take a big stocking. You could curl it up, I guess, like a newspaper, but it'll fit. It'll work.
And that's not a metaphor for anything.
No.
All right. Let's, by the way, we'll talk a little bit more about your book. Hello, by the way. Good to see you.
How are you? Yeah, been a while.
It has.
I thought of you last week. I said, am I back on the pay no mind list? And I wondered if it had anything to do with some of the criticism I've directed to your corporate overlords in recent weeks for reasons that have now been fully and completely resolved to the satisfaction of millions of consumers.
How many years do we have to know each other, Mike? How many years do we have to know each other for you to know what you say about the National Football League doesn't affect our relationship one single bit?
Well, you've got a different corporate overlord now. You've got two of them.
Oh.
I was referring to the other one.
Oh, okay.
The other one that I wasn't able to watch for a couple of weeks. That one.
Oh, that one. I don't know what you're talking about. That thing's over, right? I mean, I'm checking my watch. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, but no, of course not. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What is the story entering Week 12 of the season? Season-long storyline arc, and then we'll get to a Week 12 story that intrigues you. But give me the first dozen weeks story of the season, Mike.
Well, I mean, the subtext is what it always is. No matter how much we think we have things figured out, we realize 1 week at a time, sometimes one game at a time, that we don't. But it feels, despite the existence of several 2-loss teams and some 3-loss teams, it feels like things are wide open. And it feels like this rush to the postseason where some of these teams with inflated records are going to have more difficult schedules. For example, the Bears, they've got some tough games coming up. It feels wide open, and it feels like the chase for the playoffs will be very compelling. Those last few spots in the postseason field, and maybe one of those teams that just sneaks in is going to get hot in January like the Chiefs may. And just this idea that it could be a very entertaining and wide open and anything can happen playoff tournament this year with no preordained favorite, although with the Eagles defense looking better and better all the time, it may not matter that their offense continues to sputter.
Yeah, and the AFC, I think, for the lack of a better word, personifies your point here. Other outlets might have the teams on the outside looking in the hunt. We have it sniffing it here on the Rich Eisen Show, just to show you our level of maturity. But the 3 teams currently in the sniffing it category, 8, 9, and 10, are the teams that have won the AFC South, AFC West, and AFC North more often than not over the last few years. And the 2-loss teams are teams that have most definitely not. Colts, Patriots are the AFC East leaders right now. 1 loss above the Bills, but really 1.5 games. And there's the Broncos. So I guess that's to your point here, is how wide open it is. But of the Texans, Chiefs, and Ravens, who do you think has the best chance to make the run that we're all accustomed to seeing from them?
Well, by the way, I approve fully of the sniffing it moniker, despite the fact that it does call into question the age-old axiom, whoever smelled it dealt it.
Correct.
But I think the Ravens would probably be the most likely, just because they have one path, and that path, as a practical matter, I guess there's a way they can pull an inside straight and get a wild card berth. I think for them, it's chase down the Steelers. And they play the Steelers twice in the final weeks of the season, so they will have opportunities. And the Steelers' schedule gets more difficult down the stretch, and we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to miss time. And if he does, if he misses 1 week, how many weeks is he going to miss? If that broken wrist keeps him from playing Sunday, well, won't it also keep him from playing the next Sunday until that bone heals, however many weeks it takes to get him to a point where he can check all the boxes that Mike Tomlin articulated yesterday? So I think the Ravens, just because they're 1 game behind the Steelers and they play them twice, and we know that that rivalry is compelling, but the Ravens have had the better of it lately. I think the Ravens have the best chance because they can still win their division. The others are going to have a harder climb to get there.
Well, you just touched upon one of the Week 12 stories, and something that I'm sure Rodgers had circled when the schedule came out is what we believe, and I'm sure he deep down believes is his final visit to Soldier Field as an active player. I just can't imagine that there isn't some form of a cast that can protect him as well as give him the ability to hold on to the football and grip it when he needs to, potentially, to use that hand, or certainly when he's got both hands on it and getting hit by a Bears defense to hold on to the football. I can't imagine that he doesn't play in this game.
We've seen quarterbacks play. Yeah, we've seen them play with an injured non-throwing hand. Now, it does change maybe the way they hand off. It changes. Maybe there's more shotgun and less receiving of snaps under center. But, the key is, and this is a point Mike Tomlin made yesterday, if you fall down and you go to brace yourself and that left wrist hand area takes your weight, and that's how the injury happened in the first place. He was knocked backward, falling down with other guys on top of him. What's going to happen there, and is it going to be worse? What's the risk of something more significant that would knock him out maybe for the balance of the season? And then there's the question of the gap between Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. Some would say that maybe it's not as big of a gap based upon Rodgers' performance so far this year. And Rudolph came in, went 12 for 16, 127 yards and a touchdown in the second half against the Bengals on Sunday. And he's a guy that they supposedly were comfortable with. We don't know whether that was just bluster, but he was solid late in the 2023 season when they did the soft benching of Kenny Pickett, and he wanted too much in free agency. He got paid more by the Titans last year than the Steelers paid to Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Kyle Allen combined. So he's back this year. He's played a lot of football for the Steelers, and I think it doesn't change the Steelers' overall vibe dramatically if they go Rodgers to Rudolph. But Rodgers is going to want to play. We reported on Sunday night he was trying to get back in the game on Sunday. Tomlin essentially confirmed that yesterday. He's going to want to play. And if he's got the final say, he's going to play. He's going to have to be talked out of it. But again, if it's bad enough to get him to stand down this week, how many weeks beyond that until it's safe for him to play without risk of a serious re-injury?
Mike Florio here on the Rich Eisen Show, Pro Football Talk. Obviously, there's his legion of shows on Peacock, as well as a book for you to buy called The Big Shield. We'll get to that before I let you go. Speaking of letting go, 5 coaches every year, at least, since 2015, have been fired. We're already at 2. Give me the names of guys or teams that you think are on the precipice to add to the list of the Titans and the Giants over the final few weeks of this season, Mike Florio.
And this exercise, Rich, it always makes me uncomfortable because it affects people's lives. It affects families.
Yes, sir.
It affects other coaches. But the most appropriate quote, and Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals coach, who's now on the hot seat, he used a version of it on Monday when he was asked about it. This is Hyman Roth to Michael Corleone in Godfather 2. This is the business we've chosen. And every time a coach is hired by an NFL team, it is just a matter of time, with rare exceptions, before he's fired by that NFL team. That's the way it works. And I did something on Sunday while I was watching your excellent pregame show on NFL Network Game Day Morning. I did a broad brush, like approaching it as a fan. If I'm a fan and I'm just looking at the league right now, which teams are the ones that I'm keeping an eye on the final 8 weeks of the season? And there are 15 teams that I identified. Every coach in the AFC North, depending upon what happens the rest of the way, may be in some degree of danger, grave or otherwise. But Gannon, with 2 ugly losses the past couple of weeks, I think he's getting close. And we know that they don't need WD-40 on the revolving door at Arizona's headquarters. They fire coaches all the time. They've been around more than 100 years, and they've never had a coach for longer than 6 years, and he's in year 3. So that's one that I'm watching very carefully. And, beyond that, what are the Browns going to do? What are they ever going to do? Did Paul DePodesta recently leave on his own, or did he feel that the door is going to close on him? Will they clean house there in Cleveland? Will Mike McDaniel stick around in Miami? They've won a couple of games. Will that help him? What's a new GM want to do? And, I look at, Rich, and I hate to put this out into the universe, but I think it's malpractice for us as analysts and reporters to ignore this. When you have Josh Allen still in his prime, how many years of his prime does he have left? If they don't win the division, if they get a wild card berth and they're one and done, at what point does ownership take a hard look at why? Why aren't we getting more out of Josh Allen? Is it an issue of talent, which would tend to point toward GM Brandon Beane? Is it an issue of coaching, which would point toward Coach Sean McDermott? Is it both? Is it neither? But at some point, you just wonder whether or not that conversation is going to be had within the building. And then you look at the Falcons with Michael Penix now out for the year and Kirk Cousins playing again. And I think we'll all be reminded of why they shouldn't have given him $90 million guaranteed over 2 years. I think there's a potential for a full house cleaning in Atlanta as well. But there's a lot of different spots. If you look at the entire league, there's a lot of spots where if things go off the rails the rest of the way, we could see, and they used to call it Black Monday. Hell, it happens the day of the final games of the season. Gerard Mayo got the tap on the shoulder in the locker room, for crying out loud, after week 18 last year in his one-and-done season with the Patriots.
So a couple follow-up questions. The first one, just for me here, because we have this drop at our disposal all the time.
Is the business we've chosen.
We have it. Did Jonathan Gannon really reference Hyman Roth, or you're just using that? Did he? He
didn't reference Hyman Roth,
okay.
but he used a version of that line.
Okay, good. All right.
This is the job we take, or something like that. But it was the same idea. And he said, we joke about it. And my response was, don't joke about it. It's real. And this is why it's incumbent, as we now start to wonder who the next wave of coaches will be. There are certain jobs where you have to go in with your eyes open, that the clock is ticking the moment you get there. The moment you walk through the door, Mona Lisa Vito is stomping on the wooden front porch. You don't get a grace period because the owner is going to be quick to make a change. And, there are dysfunctional teams, and dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. But too many coaches think, and this is, I think, a product of their success and its confidence that borders on delusion that sometimes becomes hubris. I can be the guy to make it different. But you don't have a whole lot of time to do it. If you don't win right away. I mean, look at Dan Campbell in Detroit. If they didn't turn it around the second half of the 2022 season, how much longer would he have lasted with the Lions? They flipped the switch. And in hindsight, it was good they did, because they were on the front end of what's now a consistent contender. But it did not go well the first year and a half for Dan Campbell. So that's the next question. Where are the coaches going to come from, and who's going to want jobs with the teams that you should objectively look at and say, why would I want that job?
Well, I mean, the Giants' job is one that I think I'd be all over, right? I mean, they don't want to one and done anybody again, or two and done anybody again. They're going to keep the general manager, so the one thing is you can't bring your own person in that regard. But Jackson Dart clearly is it. Scattaboo is just a bunch of fun, and he's really good. And at some point, Malik Neighbors is going to come back. You got to like the bones that are there, right? And so, who do you think the Giants would go college? I mean, Lane Kiffin has everything happening in his favor right now. Florida's fallen all over him. LSU's fallen all over him. I guess the governor of Louisiana said he had a 2-hour chat with Lane, who says it's not true that he's gotten an ultimatum from Ole Miss to get an answer by the end of this month. And the timing, unfortunately, doesn't line up for a pro job. But why wouldn't the Giants at least want to even kick a tire, and let's get the college coach of Jackson Dart in here and give him another shot at the NFL? Mike? And
I'm not doubting the accuracy of the report that there was an ultimatum, but what would the or else be? Like, we want an answer by November 28th, or what? We're going to send you home without dinner? Like, what could they even do?
That's true.
It's laughable. But it just shows you how the college system has kind of gone off the rails, where you can poach coaches not just after each season, but during the season, and undermine the efforts of a team to try to finish strong when they've had the kind of season that makes the coach attractive. If I'm the Giants, here's what I would do. And all Giants fans should be very happy that I'm not the one making these decisions. But I think that you desperately need an offensive coach who will join at the hip with Jackson Dart and develop him to his fullest. And the flip side is, if you get a defensive coach and things go well offensively, the offensive coordinator becomes a head coach somewhere else, and you got to go find somebody else to continue the career arc of Jackson Dart. So I think an established coach with NFL head coaching experience who is an offensive expert would make a ton of sense. You mentioned that the GM is going to stay put. That becomes a factor because Joe Shane is going to shy away from somebody who may want to come in and take over. That's a reality. We see that every year. There are coaches who have options, and they use that to create leverage, and they dictate the terms to the teams that want them.
Okay. Mike Florio here. Well, Mike Del Tufo just hit the wrong button. All good. But
I wonder what that was. I thought it was
Vitale. Me. It's a drop of Dick Vitale saying that I'm awesome, which, by the way, is I can't confirm. In the few minutes I have left with you, Mike Florio, the team or situation that the rest of your sources or everyone that blows your phone up to talk ball is interested in right now, entering Week 12. What team leads that pack, Mike?
I think the Eagles' offense continues to be one of the both most overblown and underblown stories in the NFL, if that's possible, because a lot of people are talking about it, but not enough people are talking about it. And not enough people are really getting down to the root cause. It isn't just A.J. Brown being a diva, because he's not. We were talking about this today on PFT Live. He is sufficiently selfless that he is willing to come off as selfish by speaking out, because we will react to someone like A.J. Brown thinking he just wants more targets. He wants more catches. He wants more yards. He wants more touchdowns. No, he wants the offense to be better. And his point is, you can't just say everything's fine because we win the game. At some point, the defense isn't going to bail us out. Special teams isn't going to bail us out. We need to gain yards and score points if we want to win games when they matter most. And there's this tension that continues to be unexplored, and I credit the Eagles for concealing it as well as they have. There's something going on between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Brandon Graham said so last year before they gave him a mop and a bucket and said, go clean up that mess that you made, by saying there are personal issues between the two of them. But you've got Brown saying winning isn't enough. You've got Hurts saying winning is enough. And you've got situations where A.J. Brown is open and he's not getting the football. And they forced it to him some the other night. And, Rich, this was something Chris Sims pointed out on Monday, and it makes a ton of sense. The Lions going for it on 4th down 5 times. Sunday night was the night to punt. Sunday night was the night to kick off. Sunday night was the night to force the Eagles to show that they're functional on offense. You don't need to have, as Troy Aikman would say, big onions if you're the Lions. You just need to keep putting the ball back in the hands of a team whose offense is struggling, and they're playing in front of their home fans, and they would have been ready to let them hear it on Sunday night. So they won the game, and the defense is looking dominant, but I think that offense is something that we need to continue to watch. Remember how it went 2 years ago? They were 10-1 and the wheels came off. What's going to happen the rest of the way for the Eagles? That one is very compelling, and there's a lot of people around the league chattering about that.
Mike Florio. Okay. And the Cowboys up next, and they look pretty good. I don't care that the Raiders are not performing well. Offensively, they looked as stout as ever, man, and a problem running and throwing. And with Quinnen Williams and DeMarvion Overshown, that strengthens a front seven that gets that back end of the defense a little bit shored up. They looked like a different team, and I can't wait to see the first, real test, if you will, against the Eagles coming up this weekend. That's great.
And hey, the Cowboys' offensive line can block the pass rushers for Philadelphia, can buy enough time for Dak Prescott to get the ball to George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And if the Cowboys score early, and that's how it goes at home. A couple of years ago when the Cowboys were undefeated at home until they faced the Packers in the playoffs, you score early, you put pressure on the other team, and the defense does just enough. You get the ball back, you score again, and then you get into a setting where you can just go rush the passer. Now, they don't have Michael Parsons to do it, but Quinnen Williams really made a difference, and I don't think this is an easy game at all for the Eagles. And then they turn around and they host the Bears on Black Friday, and the Bears are a problem all of a sudden. So the Eagles are going to have their work cut out for them if they want to get back to the Super Bowl and win it.
Speaking of what happens in Vegas not staying there, the Big Shield. You like that?
Well done. I like it very much.
Big Shield, everybody. And tell everybody where they can get this, and just in time for the holidays. Mike? And
I'm amazed I've yet to get a cease and desist letter, either from the city of Las Vegas for misappropriating the sign, or from the National Football League, or as it stands, Rich, the NBA or Major League Baseball, because there are multiple athletes who are being managed by this mobster type who is headquartered in Las Vegas. But it's a lot of the stuff that we've since learned about. The Terry Rozier allegations, there's a character named Jimmy King in Big Shield who is doing exactly what Terry Rozier allegedly was doing. And the whole goal is to create a cautionary tale. These leagues can send out memos and wag fingers at players about what they should and shouldn't do. But if any of them read it, and we are in very early stages of trying to develop it to be a series, and the production companies are nervous because the sports leagues may not like it. They should ask the sports leagues. I know from talking to some of the people in and around the NFL, they see the value in an educational tool that is far better than a memo. You see it play out. You see what the risks are. You see what happens to the characters you become attached to when they chase easy money. There is no such thing as easy money, and Big Shield tries to display that through this combination of the mob, gambling, and a professional football league that is officially not the National Football League, but for the couple of spots where I accidentally referred to it as the NFL in the book.
Mike Florio saying, don't sue me, not for the first time probably in his life. Right here
I want them to. No, Rich, I want them to.
You want Discovery? Oh, no,
I want the boost. I want the boost. I mentioned this to Dan back in September when Only the Good Die Young, the Billy Joel song, was out, and the Catholic Church had a big fit about it, and he sent them a letter saying, "Will you please do that to all my songs?"
That's right. I saw the documentary. It was awesome. And I guess this is like we've got a drop for that. We got you mentioned Mona Lisa Vito earlier in the.
I learned a lot from Mona Lisa Vito, and more than I wanted to know.
I think that's not Joe Pesci.
No,
that's not Herman Munster.
That's Bill
I didn't
Belichick.
get it at first.
That's Bill Belichick, man. Mona Lisa Vito, and all of that stuff. Okay, thanks again, Mike.
By the way, the ebook's 99 cents on Amazon.
Fantastic.
99 cents, and it's only $14.99 for this very useful thing that can come in handy. You know, like if someone spits on you and you do what comes natural, you can just give them a whack with this and protect your knuckles.
Oh, if only Jalen Ramsey had a copy of Big Shield instead of his own hand. Maybe
I've been trying to get one to A.J. Brown to read on the sidelines. We're in Philly. I was going to take one and slip it to Big Dom.
You should have done that. He sometimes needs the reading material. Take care of yourself, Mike. Thanks, bud.
All right, see you, buddy.
Mike Florio, creator, editor-in-chief of Pro Football Talk. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.